The 417Gamers is a group of board, tabletop, and card gamers in the 417 area code. This is the podcast. Welcome to the 417 Gamer Podcast, episode 33, the one with two-player games. Ben and Leeandra from Moon City Con came on 2 years ago, so we had them back. In the 4, we talk about 4 games that we've been playing recently. We talk Castle Combo, Diced Veggies, Gnome Hollow, and Nova Luna. In the 1 topic of the show, we talk about two-player games, the who, the what, the why, the where, how. And in the 7, we talk about our 7 favorite two-player games. Let's get on with the show. Welcome to the 417 Gamer Podcast. My name's Rick.
And I'm Andrea.
And we're joined by some guests. 2 years ago they came on the show. Guys, introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Leeandra.
I'm Ben.
You guys are organizers of Moon City Con.
Yes. Going into our 5th year, I think. Yes.
Yeah.
This June. And I don't know, maybe fifth time's a charm?
Fifth
time's a charm?
Yeah.
It's the 6th, 7th, and 8th.
6th, 7th, and 8th of June, 2025.
Hilton Garden Inn in southeast Springfield, Missouri.
Yep. And this year, it's going to be hopefully much like previous years.
We've got a few special things going on this year.
We've got some special things. We are going to, and this may be the first time that we mention this, but we're going to go ahead and mention it. We are going to have a silent auction that's going to benefit the Care Animal Clinic here in Springfield.
Oh,
Very nice.
Awesome.
And so we're going to have several different auction lots up for silent auction. We're not actually sure if we're going to do a silent auction or if we're going to do a live auction. We're not actually sure how that's going to work yet.
Some kind of auction.
But
Yeah.
hopefully there might be a little surprise. We might actually have a few animals on site, hopefully, and to drive some excitement. And so anyway, that's what we've been up to for the last little bit, is starting to plan all that.
Yep.
And
Nice.
And you guys, this episode is going to drop the 10th, and then you guys are going to come back for the 20th, but badges go on sale for Moon City Con starting February 28th.
yes,
Correct. Yes.
All right. In the 417 Gamer Podcast, the very first segment is the 4. Andrea, what do we do in the 4?
We talk about things we've either done or are looking forward to in the 417 area.
And we've been playing some games. Andrea, we've been playing Castle Combo.
Yes.
So-
it came out last year.
Yeah, very end of last year, and it got gobbled up at our friendly local game store to where we couldn't get a copy until just recently. So we played it with Matt in the group, and we played it at Finnegan's Wake on the Tuesday game night with Metagames. Fantastic little game. On your turn, you're going to draft a card. You're going to either pay for it or you're going to take one of the cards, flip it face down, and get keys and monies. You're going to eventually take 9 cards and build a 3x3 grid. There are like 6 different shield symbols that could be on a card. There's gold, orange, blue, green, purple, and pink. Each one is a different class of character: nobility, clergy, craftsman, stuff like that. So whenever you get a card, it has the top left is the money. Then in the middle is the immediate effect. So like, you might get money for all of a certain type of shield that you have in, or you might get money based on if your rows and columns are filled. Mm-hmm. And then the very bottom tells you how that card scores for points. So in the game, whenever you draft the card, it's going to depend on how badly you need the immediate effect versus how much you want to grab that for in-game scoring. Mm-hmm. It plays in like 20 minutes. And we liked it so much that's kind of gone into our rotation for our choring games. So Saturday, Sundays, when we're trying to get laundry done, dishes done, and start doing that, we'll go do a task, come back down, play a game of Castle Combo, and go back off. Mm-hmm. I've really enjoyed it. The art is cute and kitschy.
You can really, if you micromanage, you can really squeeze a lot of points out of it. But it's not so heavy that a light newbie couldn't play it.
Yeah.
You know?
It
Very
sounds
menu-friendly.
a lot like in your description. I have not got a chance to play it. I've seen pictures of it, but it's given vibes of like King Domino, which I like a lot, and maybe Tiny Towns, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where you have this limited amount of space to use, and you're just trying to maximize points. With
Yeah.
that, you know. But
Exactly.
it sounds like the decision points are a little different in that, since you're drafting cards versus
Yeah,
tiles.
yeah.
King Domino is very simplistic, but I still always like that grid. You know, when you have a
Yeah.
limited size grid to build type thing.
Well, this is published by Pandasaurus Games. It is designed by Gregory Garrard and Matthew Roussel. Really, really enjoyed this one. One other game we've been playing recently has been, what was it? Diced Veggies. Diced Veggies is a game we got off of, in the 417Gamer group, we do buy and sell. We let anybody buy and sell the games that they wish. One of the gentlemen had a stack of games, and I had quite a bit of it, but there was a little bitty game from Kids Table Board Games who do Maple Valley, and they also do
Creature Comforts.
Creature Comforts,
Yep. And also, I think they did
Cafe Berra, and some others.
Yeah,
So I was like, man, so far they've all been lighter for our friends and family. The art is really nice, and it's pretty easy to learn and get to the table. So we grabbed Diced Veggies, and it's pretty cute. It is about cooking, and you roll the dice, and the dice have pips and values, but the colors correspond to the ingredients. So like gray is mushrooms, orange is carrots, pink is onions, red is tomatoes, and green are peppers. And you'll have some recipe cards in front of you, and then you'll have, they're not called flavor cards.
There's recipe cards, and then there's like bonus cards.
Yeah, they have a name for it, but it's your bonus card. So on your turn, you're going to take this little cleaver, and you're going to cut out some dice, and it has to be a full, just regular cut. You can't cut in the middle. You can't split it off, and you can never split the block into multiple pieces. So you have to take a nice cut, and your dice can never add up to more than 10. So the strategy on what you're taking, you take those at the once you've done that, then you attempt to cook if you can. Your card will tell you what dice it's looking for as far as ingredients, and then your little adder card will tell you what else you need. So all dice need to be twos, or you need ascending dice or something like that. Then at the end of your turn, you're going to draft a card every turn, whether you cooked or not. And at the end of your turn, you can't have any more than 8 dice in your supply. You can have 2 recipes on hand, and those are always face up, and you can have 2 of those adder cards. If you have any more than that, you have to discard down. Really fun, really cute. I love the dice, and so far that we've played it, it's gone over pretty well.
Yeah.
You guys have been enjoying the game. What game have you guys been enjoying?
Gnome Hollow. Yes, we've got that game maybe a month ago or so.
Yeah, it was my Christmas present
Yes,
from
it
you
was.
because we were in local game store, Meeple Village Game Cafe. We just decided, hey, we're each hard to buy for in our own ways, and yet also easy to buy for. But it's like, hey, you pick out what you want. I'm gonna pick out what I want. Leandra picked out a really cool coffee cup that they had in there from a local artist.
Yeah.
And it was like $50. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna get something like $50.
I mean,
I've had my eye on Gnome Hollow. It's by the Op, and
it is the cutest game. So we immediately took it home. We started playing it, and it was like, I immediately sent it to my sister, Latoya, because she does all the board games too. She was like, yes, love it. Ben bought he bought little gnome characters to be first player because the wooden ones aren't good enough, of course.
the first player took is just a wooden or a gnome hat, and I was like,
Yes.
nah, we need something better. So I found these little drunken gnome statues, and so
he set the game up, right? And I sit down and I'm like, oh my gosh, like your little player mat, and it has 10 little, what are the little wooden
cylinders, basically.
Yes, right. And I was like, well, that's kind of lame. Like they're just
kind
gonna
of a cardboard,
they're just gonna,
not even like a thick cardboard.
yeah, like
a,
they're just gonna fly off because they're not like riveted or anything. And he's like, oh yeah, and he's like, move it. It's magnet.
magnetic. Yes. So
Yeah, so you can literally flip your whole player board over and all of the pieces stay.
yeah.
Nice.
Fantastic.
And it's cool because it's just like a thin piece of metal in between basically 2 pieces of cardstock. So the player boards are not very they're more than cardstock. They're almost like cardboard just because there's 3
Yeah,
layers.
they're thicker.
But one of those layers is a little thin sheet of metal, and it's cool because what they did there is genius by adding these little magnets inside of the wooden cylinders. Was that allowed them to not do like 3-level player boards with like cutouts
sit inside,
because they're double-sided. So that way you can flip it over and you still have the magnetic part on both sides instead of having to have like an extra layer so you could have like a indentation on both sides. That would make it 3 times as thick.
Sure.
This way they really maximize the space.
Yeah, and it's so adorable, right?
Yeah.
From my perspective, like it's each player board is 2 different gnomes, right? And Beatrice and their sisters, and then it's like Holly and Hoppy or Poppy, and they're together.
Yep. And then we're Sour Jack and Sweet Jane is the one that's the green ones. And the crazy thing is, so let's talk about the game a little bit. The game is at its heart, it's a tile laying game a la Carcassonne, but it's also got worker placement. You have 2 gnome workers. You can place one of them every turn, and you're going to, once you place it somewhere originally, you're just going to move it to a different place. And the options open up as the game goes along. Originally, basically all you can do is draw 2 cards from the supply that's out, tiles, and add 2 of them to the board. And the board is a community
it's like
tile.
It's a tree trunk.
Starts at a tree trunk, yep, which is the market board. That's one of the worker placement spots. Then you're building out, and what you're trying to do essentially is build out with these octagonal tiles, or not octagonal, what are they, 5-sided? Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-sided.
No geometry words.
They're 6-sided tiles. Anyway, you're trying to build out fairy circles, which are these mushroom circles, and each tile will have a varying number of paths that it has and mushrooms that are on them. The mushrooms are vary in rarity. There's 5 different colors, purple ones being the most rare, red ones being the least rare, whatever. And so when you complete a circle by placing the tile out there, you then put out all the mushrooms that are on that path. Mm-hmm. And if you have claimed that, which is one of your worker placement things, you can move your gnome to the path at any time, on your turn, as long as no other gnome has claimed it. And then whenever it's completed, you can then take everything immediately. Otherwise, you just put the mushrooms out there and they stay on the board, and someone can then come and claim that and take those mushrooms. But you get the bonus for whatever size ring that is. So however many tiles make up that ring.
And the largest you can get is a 7 ring.
7. You can make bigger ones, but you only get bonuses from 3 to 7. Yep. You get a spot for 1, 1 for 3, 2 for 4, and then 5, 6, 7 plus. You've got 4, I believe, options. And you've got all of these, we talked about those cylinders that are magnetic. Whenever you complete one, you'll move your leftmost one down to the size that you created. Sure. So if I made a 6, I would move down to one of the options of my 6 of my 4 bonus options. So basically how you score is you're going to move those off of there. So at the end of the game, every one of those cylinders that's been revealed, has been taken, has revealed a point score. And you're trying to get these wildflowers that you get by... whenever you remove your cylinders, you'll get wildflowers, and once you get a wildflower, you get one, and then you add them up for other people. Then that adds another worker placement spot where you can just take your gnome and go up and get one, as long as you don't have that type. There's 8 different kinds of flowers, and you can get all 8, and you want to, because just like removing the cylinders, by adding the flowers, you get that same same amount of points. Mm-hmm. So the points are basically by removing your cylinders, by making rings, by getting the flowers that you don't already have, and then the third way is collecting all those mushrooms.
You go to the market.
And you take an action to move your gnome to the market and sell sets of mushrooms.
And there's only so many slots available, depending on how many players there are, right? It is the cutest little game. I mean, it is so fun. Nice. And so let me just tell you real fast, because, we're married, right? So when you're on a tile, and if the tile has multiple places to go and you've already claimed it, if you're trying to add something that's going to bump up to that person's circle,
extend
you have
that
to get permission.
Oh.
Because there's some
Over my
tiles
dead
have
body,
multiple.
am I asking for permission?
The first thing Lee said when I explained the game was, I said, so this is the thing. So, and she's like, why would anybody ever want to do that? I'm like, because maybe I'm trying to make a path on this other side, and but it has 2 paths on this tile, and so it's going to extend yours, which may be good and may be bad for you. So that's why I have to get your permission. She goes, I never have gotten permission from you, and I never will get permission from you. And I was like, Well, okay. So that was settled.
So that's Gnome Hollow.
So that's Gnome Hollow from the Op, designed by Ben Anderson and Patrick Spizzanti. The last game we're going to talk about is a game that you guys have championed before. Mm-hmm. This is designed by Uwe Rosenberg, and this is Nova Luna.
Yep.
Yes.
So Nova Luna is a tile drafting, tile placement, pattern making game. You have it's a round circle that has a moon, and from there are various tiles. The tiles on there, you have your round discs at a start point, and whoever's on top gets to go first. From then on, whoever's furthest back, it is that person's turn. When you take a tile, it has two different types of information. One has a number, and that's how many spaces you advance your marker once you take it. And the other piece of information are the potential patterns that it can either be adjacent to or be part of, depending on... No, not part of. It has to be adjacent to score. And what you score is you take one of your other markers in your supply and put it on there. The first person to exhaust all of their markers wins the game, so it is a race.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really cool game, and it's got that aha, because you've put some tiles down, and you're like, oh, I did that. I didn't know I did that. Now, the one tile, if you put it in there just right, it might be adjacent to a whole bunch of patterns already going. Mm-hmm. We played it at 2. We quite liked it, and we're excited to bring it out to one of the coming up game nights to see how we like it at like 3 and 4.
Mm-hmm. We played it with 3 and 4.
We played it at 2, 3, and 4. Yeah. Yeah, it's patchwork plus basically.
Yeah.
It's a multiplayer patchwork with that little bit of puzzly tiling element to it, but that selection mechanism is purely patchwork for the most part, But he figured out a way to take that, which is what he does. Every game of Uwe's is just an iteration on the last game that he did, But yeah, this one was a way to make a multiplayer patchwork, basically, and that's how it feels to me. I really like it. Yeah,
I do too.
I think I prefer it to patchwork.
Oh,
Honestly, even at
absolutely.
2 players,
Yeah.
I do think I prefer it. But it has that extra layer of puzzliness that I like.
Nice.
All right, well, that was the 4 and the 417 Gamers. Don't forget, badges for Moon City Con go on sale February 28th, and Moon City Con itself takes place at the Hilton Garden Inn in June 6th and 7th. Be there.
Greetings from the Moon City. Mark your calendars. Badge sales kick off February 28th, 2025. Secure yours early and take advantage of our pre-boarding sale running through March 14th. Badge pricing, standard badges are $60, but early birds get an amazing $15 discount if you grab yours during the pre-boarding window. Expansion packs. Hey, we've only got 20 expansion packs, featuring exclusive perks such as a limited edition t-shirt, admission to our fall harvest game day, and more to be announced before launch. Get ready for an unforgettable weekend of gaming, friends, and fun. See you at Moon City Con 2025 for Meeple Kind.
The one in the 417 Gamer podcast is the topic of the show. We're talking 2-player games. The why, the what, the where. For you guys, what 2-player games, how do you and when do you guys get to actually play your 2-player games? Is it often? Because for your game nights, you guys have family and friends over fairly consistently. I see, pictures from your Instagrams here and there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Not as often as we would like. It's mostly just Ben and I, and we don't necessarily just look for 2-player games. We look for games that play only can play 2 players.
Right.
Sure. Right. So in the perfect world, we'll find a game that plays minimum of 2 and then 5. Because when we do have a game day, it's usually 5 people.
So that's kind of a stipulation. I don't always look for that, but that's a big time bonus if it'll go, 1 to 5 or 2 to 5. I have very few games that don't have an official 2-player mode, and if it's a 3 and up game, there's usually some sort of variant that someone's made up for 2 players.
It's usually just you and I.
Because it's usually majority of the time it's just us. And
have you burned the kid out on games?
Oh gosh, she hates
never
games.
has liked games.
She
She'll
hates
play
them.
She'll play Uno and Skippo, but that's about it. So 9 times out of 10 playing games is just the 2 of us. So it really does. But then again, I would say you guys' list consists mostly of 2-player only games, because I think that was what your topic was, but we didn't see the only part. So we just talked about games that play well at 2 players
Yeah.
for the most part,
great.
because I have found that 2-player only games, that limits you in what you can get. Sure. And I find that they're so balanced. Whenever a game is designed for only 2 players to play, they can balance them so to where almost every game ends up to like one person wins by 1 or 2 points. And because that idea that it's built for multiplayer can sometimes open it up for some more strategies that go completely different from what the other person's doing, where maybe there's 4 different ways to win the game. Whereas a lot of times 2-player games, it's like there's this one way to win the game, and we're trying to balance it between the 2 of you, and it's so balanced that it's just like, well, who's going to come down to the last? When we figure out points, it's like, well, you won by 1 this time because I won by 1 last time, and it's so close that it doesn't. Sometimes 2-player only games don't lend themselves to different strategies.
That's a good point.
Is there certain game styles you don't care for at 2-player that maybe you like better at bigger player counts?
Area control for the most part doesn't work great at 2 players.
No.
You usually have to use like some kind of dummy player and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we try to avoid games like that. 2-player.
Yeah.
That's really about it, though.
Yeah, I mean everything else. I mean, yeah, there's very few games. And another weird thing is like something like Gnome Hollow, like we talked about before. I find it better. It plays up to 4, but I find it better at 2 because at 4 it becomes very chaotic.
It plays 5.
No, it plays 4. We thought it
Oh,
played
that's
5.
right. I had to set
you had
out.
to sit out.
That's right.
But yeah, there's certain games that I think just, especially when you like what we like is kind of single player or multiplayer solitaire kind of thing. Like, let me do my thing and you don't mess with me, Then a lot of times a 4-player game played at 2 will give you more room to do that sort of thing.
Yeah. Nice.
Are there 2-player games that each one of you likes to play, but you won't play with each other?
Is there?
I don't know.
Well, I mean, you like to play Obsession at 2 players.
I love Obsession.
You don't like to play with me, though.
I hate playing with you.
There you go. There's a game.
So there's a game. Yeah, I really can't think of one that I don't prefer to play with you that I'd play with anyone else. So. Do you guys have one like that?
We have a few.
Yeah, like what?
So like the more tactical dudes on a map or war games, like Memoir 44 is light and abstracted enough to where there's a history element and it gets out of the way quick enough. I mean, it's done in about half an hour. And we'll play both sides, and I still like it at times, but anything that's stronger and takes more tactics and more to learn and teach, she likes her stories in her games. So if it's more dry and informational, it bounces right off of her, and she doesn't enjoy it, and I want to play games that she likes and that she enjoys.
And I appreciate that.
And like a game like Twilight Struggle.
Yeah.
That is a very dry 2-hour game about the Cold War.
Yeah.
I like that game. I think it's a fantastic game, but that is not a game that Andrew's going to enjoy, and I'm not going to make her sit for 2 hours to play a game that she may surprise me and like it.
Yeah.
But we have such a collection of really good games. Why
take the chance? Yeah.
And
learning a game like that is the worst part, right? Like that's like, what if you could just get past the learning? And my husband's a bit long-winded, and so when it comes to teaching games, it's like the teacher on Charlie Brown. After a while, I just wah. That's all I hear, wah wah wah, and I hear and bless your heart. I know we've had this conversation, but it's like 45 minutes in to a 2-hour game, right? 45 just to teach the game. Well, the last 30 minutes you've wasted your breath because I haven't heard a damn thing. Like I've heard nothing. Yeah.
It's news to me. I didn't know you were listening to the first time.
Exactly.
And there's also a complexity ceiling that we bring in for our 2-player games. Sure. Actually, it kind of grows the more we play, though.
Yeah.
Because I would absolutely get Great Western Trail for us to play at 2-player, because I like it at 2 and 3. 4 takes way too long, and I will not play it at 4. Yeah. I don't know how many times on a Thursday game night, Ethan, love him, great friend of ours, he's like, hey, got Great Western Trail. I'm like, are we keeping it at 3? He's like, no, I already got somebody. I'm like,
nah, no.
No thanks. He's like, we'll get it over. And I said, I will get at least 2 games in by the time you get that done. No. And he's pretty good at keeping it on a pretty good pace. But even he cannot get that over by the time we get 2 games in.
Because he doesn't BS in between turns.
And
yeah.
I've only
He does
ever
not.
Yeah.
I've only ever played that game with him, and every time it's been 3 to 4 hours long. So
And has it been a 4-player game?
yeah, 4-player game
Point
every
taken.
time.
If you can get it to a 3-player game, which we have, we got it in 90 minutes, not quite 2 hours. And that game is right about where it's about done.
Yeah.
If it goes past the 2-hour mark, I'm like, oh, when is it done?
Yeah.
I mean, when a game outstays its welcome, it sucks.
That's when I get too loopy on mimosas or wine to really pay attention.
2 years ago, you guys talked about your love languages. Mm-hmm. How do games feed into your love language these
Very
days?
much so, actually. Yeah. When he's had a rough day at work, like he wants to go and he wants to chill, right? And so, for him to relax is just sitting at the bar at the house, not like a random bar, but the bar at the house and going through his magic cards and just kind of like decompressing, and I'll go out there and, hey, let's play a game of Magic. Oh, you don't have to. You don't have to. I'm like, no, I want to, honey. I want to. And that's his love language, right? Like that, helps him relax and it helps him decompress for the day. And we'll get 2 or 3 games in, and when he's had a particularly bad day, I try to lose. I try, but most of the time I don't.
No, you don't. But as far as like Lee's love language, I think we decided is like acts of service.
Yeah,
right?
it's not board games.
But
no.
but that being said, is like there's a lot of times where she will want to get together with her family, but she's like,
Yes.
well, what are we going to do? Well, just so happens that
We'll
most
play
of
board
them
games.
like to play
Yeah.
board games, and
Oh.
so
Yep.
we can have a whole thing where we make dinner or lunch or whatever and have them over, and then we all play board games, and then
So I
everybody
get to do my
has
thing.
fun,
I get to
you know?
host, and I get to, and do
Yeah.
all the things I want to do with my family, and have everything ready. And then we're still doing his love language, and so it works out really well.
And your
Nice.
sisters
And my
so,
sister, yeah.
And on my side, that really helps during the holidays on one side of the family because they will play games, and then we don't have to worry about the topics that could come up
Yeah,
otherwise.
Exactly.
However, my mom's side of the family, they are not gamers at all,
Not at all.
and
Makes it
they
rough.
would rather just sit there and gripe. And
Yep. Mm-hmm.
They won't even do puzzles?
nope.
Really?
Nothing.
Because my mom's not a gamer, but she will sit down and puzzle with me. And so
I
that's
would
nice.
love if my
Yeah.
grandfather or my aunt would do puzzles. Nope.
No, dang it.
Then you're just left with
Dominoes?
communication.
Not a thing.
Oh no.
Oh.
Man, I wish.
Talk?
I would so totally play dominoes.
Yeah.
The only thing I wouldn't play is hand and foot. I'd rather just listen to the griping than play hand and foot.
As you were talking before, that's one of the few things. Domino's Mexican Train is one of the few things that like everybody in our family
Yeah.
will play.
We will
My
play.
dad will
Even
play. Our
Frankie
kid
will
will play.
play.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
She'll
like
play.
that is maybe the only one that kind of bridges the gap of everybody that we
Yep.
know will play
Yeah.
that. You know, so we can bust that out at worst
Now,
case scenario.
For
we
me,
can
it's
bust
Sure.
bringing 5 crowns.
yeah.
I've been able to get 5 crowns play with every group, every type of person.
See, I've
And
never
everybody's-
played that. I need to try that.
Love 5
Either.
crowns.
Oh,
Buy it at
yeah.
Walmart.
It's,
I
it's,
mean,
it's
like-
a way better phase 10.
Yeah. See, and I hate Phase 10.
hate
I refuse to
Phase
play
10.
Phase 10.
Phase 10 can go on forever, but
Yes.
I understand trying to get your cards to line
Yeah.
up. I like that.
Phase 10 is fun to play. It just never ends.
Yeah.
You know, it's
It
like-
takes way too
It's
long.
the game that
And 5 crowns is a way
never
better.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
it ends.
So
That's
sometimes
one of the
I will bring out 5 crowns and we'll play it.
Yeah.
Another thing is, I like that most of our 2-player games are in smaller boxes.
Yeah.
They take up
That
less
is a
room.
That's
Big
true.
thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them that I like the 2-player versions better.
Yep.
I mean, when we get into the list, we have a couple of the 2-player version that came out later and kind of replaced it for me.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, and they can do that. I think they can go both ways. And there's also a catch-22 on that, where, especially in our list, where there's some games that are multiplayer games that we tend to only play at 2. But the real barrier to that is that setup time, because it's like you got a full game with all the
Yeah.
pieces in it. It's a big Euro
Yep.
game, so I'm spending 45 minutes setting it up, and even if we know how to play it, so there's no waiting to learn the game. But it's like that setup time really detracts from the idea of like a small box 2-player game that you can just throw out and you're playing immediately. That is a real hindrance to that even games that play more but play well at 2, the setup is sometimes just more than I want to do. Terraforming Mars, for instance,
Sure.
something I just don't like the whole setup to it to
Really?
get it out. Yeah, I've got the 3D
that's a
pieces
beast
and
to
everything.
Oh, I don't have
and
the
all
3D
that,
pieces. We have the base.
Yeah.
We have the Prelude expansion.
Yep.
And that's it.
And then we have the mats we got off of Etsy they basically just reprinted the player boards and put foam overlay over it.
Nice.
yeah,
We've
to
got
hold
the-
your little.
We've got the double-sided boards and stuff, but it's not
We don't get
terrible.
it out very often
It's
'cause it's
just
such a
it's hard to
beast.
put away too. That's the other thing with the
Yeah.
3D pieces. It's hard to put
Yeah.
away.
Yeah, we don't
probably harder
have
to put
them.
away than to take out.
I think one of the first times we played with someone who had the 3D printed, 2 of the little trees broke off, and I was like, "Oh,
Oh, no.
I can't. I'm sorry."
Oh.
I'm not touching your bases no more.
Yeah, no. So yeah, we never. I'm like, yeah, well, let's not
Let's
do that.
not do that. Yeah.
So yeah, that small box and easy setup is a big plus to 2-player
Agreed.
games.
All right. That was the one in the 417 Gamer podcast. Andrea, what do we do after the one?
The 2,
No.
the 3,
No.
and
The 7.
4. Oh, the
Seven.
7.
The 7.
417.
There you go.
Oh, that's cute.
Let's go on to the 7.
Just
Sorry.
The 7 in the 417 Gamer podcast is our 7 in a given category. We're going with our favorite 7 2-player games. Andrea, you want to start us off? What is our number 7?
Our number 7 is Star Realms.
Star Realms is a deck builder. It is my favorite deck builder. My only solely deck builder game that I like. Hero Realms can go in there. And actually, we just got the Star Trek Star Realms, which plays up to 4. But Star Realms, 2-player game, you're building up your fleet of ships, they're building up their fleet of ships, and it goes through the classic trope, A, B, C, D, A, action, B, buy, C, clean up, D, draw your new hand. It's very simple, but because there's direct interaction, you're attacking the other player, I like it. It does not feel like multiplayer solitaire like Dominion, Ascension, Thunderstone Quest, and all those others felt like to me. I thought I hated deck builders. I just don't like bad games. So I don't like those. I love Star Realms. I got her to play it. We play it fairly infrequently. We've had some newer games that have cycled through, but when we pick it back up, it's like, man, this is
Yeah.
still really, really good.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever tried playing that with Lee,
think
but
so.
I actually think she would like it. A friend of ours, Scott, really likes it and has all the stuff for that. And I would say my caveat to my least favorite type of game being straight deck builder, I actually like Star Realms because of that,
Yeah.
like you said, that direct interaction.
And I think
you've got the
everything votes
bases. You've got the bases to attack. You've got these. It's very strategic in a way that most deck builders are not strategic. Most deck builders are just literally solitary. You're just doing your own thing.
Yeah.
This you have interaction, which
Yeah.
makes it a lot better.
Yeah.
So I agree. I like that one too.
Lee, your guys' is number 7.
7 Wonders Duel.
Hey.
Love that game. It's
We just
so
played it
fun.
last night.
It's
We
so
did.
fun.
It has suffered from, like we talked about before, the expansion bloat for us. We haven't played it physically, our copy, since I got the last. I don't think we've ever played with the last expansion I got, which was the Agora or whatever.
Yeah, we didn't like either expansion.
No.
I like the first one. I played with
We
the
tried
first one.
Pantheon and we tried
yes.
Agora, but I think the base is so just smooth
It's so fun.
that the weird wheel where that card costs that for you but costs this for me, and then you can go search through the tokens and this, that. It was too much fluff on a thing that we loved.
Yeah.
The base game is just very pure, and very good.
Yeah.
You just played it, right?
I did.
Yeah, you just
Yep.
played it the other day.
Yep.
So, and it was one that I was playing remotely on BGA with people a lot during the pandemic. Like I had multiple games going with lots of friends. So good on that format.
Yeah.
So
Well, our number 6 is 7 Wonders Duel.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
So we agree 100%
Yes,
with all
we
with
do.
everything.
Yes,
We
we
play
do.
it. She won via science for the first time.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I've won once militarily. She won once versus science. It usually comes down to points.
Yeah.
And I misread it because there's 7 science symbols, and then I had to read further that you win on 6 because she already had the 6th.
Yep.
And we're midway through the 3rd. I'm like, let me reread that. And it's like, no,
Oh,
you
you
get
already
6
won.
of the 7 symbols, you win. I'm like, you already won. We don't have to finish this. She goes,
Nice.
oh,
Immediate
okay.
win.
She's like, I'm going to take that one and give me another token anyway.
I was going to win on points anyway.
Yes, you were.
Ben, your guys is number 6.
Well, we've talked about it already, but Gnome Hollow,
Yep.
not a 2-player only game, but
A
again,
2-player game.
I think that we have enjoyed it. It's been fun every time we played it. Let me say that, but We've played
it
at
with
2, 3, and 4.
5.
2, 3, and 4.
Oh,
It
4.
only plays 4.
Sorry.
And it's a game that just gets more and more chaotic and more tactile.
I enjoy it more 2-player.
Or, excuse me, more tactical as you get more players, because you really can't plan what you want to do in the future because you have to wait and see what the board stays like.
And you have to ask permission when there's 4 people.
And you're building out this forest, these trails together, and when you play a 2-player game, you can both just kind of go in opposite directions and do your own thing until somebody comes and snipes something from you. But for the most part, it gives you a little bit more wiggle room to do your own strategy, and so it's really good at 2-player.
Nice.
What about you guys?
Our number 6 was Seven Wonders.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So we'll bounce back to you guys. Lee, what is your guys' number 5?
Res Arcana, and we actually just bought the 2-player
only version.
2-player only version while we were at Meta tonight. So
because we knew we were going to talk about it, and I saw that it came out, and I was like, well, what's the point of it? Because it's a great 2-player game already. Like, what do you really? And the
we
cool
play
thing
it
about
on BGA a lot.
Yeah, and the cool thing about the duo version is it's less cards than the full game, and it's cheaper, so you're just paying for a 2-player set basically. But in addition to that, it is a expansion to the full game, so you can just throw it in your full game, which I think we will. I don't even know if I'll bother with the 2-player rules because we already like the game. I'll just throw some extra cards in
there. You go.
Yeah.
Andrea, our number 5.
Patchwork.
Uwe Rosenberg, you're quilting. We have 6 different variants
Versions.
of it. And I think I burned us out on the versions and the variants. I think we're going to slim it down to where we have just a couple.
Yeah.
Because we have the Americana, we have the Halloween, we have the regular, we have the Korean folklore, we have the Finland folklore, we have the
I didn't know they
Valentine's
made
Day.
all that.
Yeah.
Do the games play are there any differences?
Halloween and Valentine's Day, yes.
Okay.
They had a mathematician come in and rebalance the pieces.
Okay.
So your cross that's 0 buttons and 3 times is no longer that price.
Okay.
It's like 2 and 4 or something like that.
So those would be the ones to keep, right?
Huh.
Like, I mean, the more
I don't know. I still like those.
I suck at that game. I never win that game. Ever.
Patchwork a lot.
I remember the first time I won on Rick because he plays it on his phone all the
I
time.
used
So
to play it on
he
my phone also.
he has memorized the shapes and how
how they play together.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I was like, the first time I won, I was like I won the Super Bowl, man.
Yeah,
It was,
man.
There was one game we played, and I was trying to make it way harder on me, and I started with my piece in dead center and the thing. She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm trying to make it harder for myself." And I still won.
Oh, wow.
jerk.
Toot.
Well, I was trying to make it harder, but then
and then it worked out. It
but
just
I
made
still
yeah.
it went. Yeah, I'll
That's
leave it
how I
alone. I'll leave it alone.
That's how I felt the first and only time I've ever won Splendor. I was like, I thought I was on top of the
Yeah,
world. I was
he
like,
sucked
because
so
I
bad
hate
at that
Splendor,
game.
and I was like, I won it one time, and
Yeah.
it was even on BGA, and I was still like jumping up and down.
Yeah. He never
All
wins
right.
that game.
Ben, you're number 4.
Fantasy Realms. So
Yes.
I don't think we've talked about that one.
We
Yeah,
have
we
it
mentioned
right
it a
there.
couple
Look at
times.
it.
Yeah, hey, look at it. You got the deluxe edition.
You do.
We don't have that one.
I love that game.
But yeah, Fantasy
It's easier to
Realms.
read.
Yeah, so we talked about Red Rising before, and these games that are
We've taught Fantasy Realm to our nephew Jax.
Yep,
and he
it's
did
very
really well
easy
with
to
it.
teach to anyone. It's just you get a card and you try to you're just trying to maximize. What do you end up getting? 8 cards in the game?
7.
7 cards.
Well, in the deluxe, you get 8.
You get 8, and then they score different. Yeah, and I think 2-player game got a little bit different count, but you're just trying to maximize points by drafting the right cards, and it's a cool push pull because I love the mechanism. The coolest thing about that game is that if you pull from the graveyard, too often, if you pull from the deck too often, you're speeding the game up. So that might be beneficial to you, or that might be negative to you, and you have to decide sometimes mid-game, do I want to flip what I'm going for because there's a lot of good stuff out in the graveyard that works together,
Right.
I don't know. It's just a really good game.
It is. I agree.
Our number 4 is Trombone. This is a very dry game, but it's plays
so fun.
so
It
good.
is. I
You're
love that game.
operating trolley lines in like Amsterdam or Holland, something like that. It's Helmut Ollie. It was published by Mayfair. I hope somebody else picks it up eventually.
Yeah, it
But
hasn't been printed in a while.
It's just
Yeah.
cards,
Yep.
and they play so well.
It does.
And we play it out, and I mean, there's so many times that tension at the very end. And I'm like, you're both about to hit a scoring.
Yep.
They're different colors. Like, oh, I need those colors to come out right. And just fishing through the deck. Hopefully, you can get that last score, or get a private scoring in before because they're kicking your butt.
It's kind of like a weird twist on a trick taking game where you're not really. You are trying to hit tricks, but you're just for yourself. You know what I mean? Like you're building your own tricks out, kind of. That's we've been playing that game for years. We haven't played it in a long time.
We haven't. I think we should.
It's one of those that we stumbled on probably 10 years ago. And just bought it and didn't know what it was like, and kind of hard to learn at first because it's a little weird, but. Once you get it down, it's one of those you want to play
from a different art.
Like
that could definitely be one where they could put new sleeves on it. And
they could skin that to be anything, because it's just numbers basically.
But it's got that rummy racco where you try to get them in sequential order and play them correctly.
Yeah.
It's good times. Let's go back to Ben. Ben, you're number 3.
What do we got? Sea Salt and Paper.
Yes.
Which we talked about before. Not strictly a 2-player game either, but we play it mostly 2-player. And it's just one of those really fast-playing ones where I think you're trying to... What are you playing, 4 rounds anyway, just to score the game? So 4 rounds maybe takes you 30 minutes to play, and you feel like you've gotten a full game in, and you feel good about what you're doing.
Have either of you ever won by getting all the mermaids?
No.
I have when we played it 4 players. I've done it in that, but never 2-player, I don't think.
I haven't.
Yeah.
Andrea, what is our number 3?
Botnik.
Botnik is a new one for us.
What is Botnik?
It's like a steampunky tile laying game where you're connecting pipes to water your flowers.
That was at Moon City last year, wasn't it? Yes.
We really like it.
Yeah. Did you guys happen to learn it from Ben Gutowski? By any chance? Because he's the one that I played it with.
He's the one that told us to play it.
Yeah.
We got it from Catherine, and she got us the eggplant bag, the evil eggplant bag to draw your tiles on. It's good. It's so good.
Game,
It's a tile drafting, tile placement game, pattern making.
I'll have to give it a try.
It's one of those that's really, really close too. Like, I mean, you almost have to be playing terrible because you can watch what the other person's trying to do.
Right.
There's some of that, and it just comes down to the end, and you're just hoping. Sometimes you're just hoping for that right tile to come out, and if it doesn't, you're screwed. But
Leandra, your guys is number 2.
For Shuffle, not necessarily a 2-player, but we play it 2-player and we love it.
Understood.
Love it.
We have all the expansions. We loves it too. A bit of a table hog, even for a 2-player game.
It is.
It is.
I mean, for 2 people, our 3x5.5 table is completely clogged up. So we can't play more than 2 people on this table with 4 Shuffle because it takes up too much space.
We play it on BGA.
Yeah.
A lot of times,
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes even when we play at Meta, because some of the tables are a little bit narrow because you've got your tree and you've got cards above and below and on each side, it just takes up a lot of room.
We played at 4 players there, and it was like on one table, and it is just you're getting into everybody else's space.
Our number 2 is Splendor Duel. And Splendor Duel, I kind of poo-pooed when it first came out because I thought Splendor played pretty well at 2 already. And then Splendor Duel kicks the crap out of Splendor
Does it really?
We have it. We played it.
It's more meaningful choices. It's more interesting gameplay. The stealing of the gems is a little mean, but at the same time, I understand why you did that usually.
Yeah.
But just because you understand it doesn't mean it's not a jerk hole move.
No, it's definitely a jerk move. And there's sometimes she's like,
I just finally got that pearl and you took it.
We need to play. I know you have it, but you hate Splendor.
Well, and it's
way different.
I never bought the original Splendor because I hated it so much. But then I
bought
bought
the Marvel.
I bought Marvel. Yeah. And I liked that better. I liked the little twist that it put on it.
Because it puts at least something for you to look at.
Yeah, and there's a little bit more of a goal-oriented thing that I can wrap my head around a little bit better than just complete randomness like I feel like Splendor is. Yeah. But Splendor Duel is much tighter for sure. It's just one of those things where I'm so averse to the name Splendor that I think we played it one time when I first bought it, and that's the only time it's come out.
Yeah.
It just didn't blow our socks off. I think we'd both be just as happy to play regular Splendor as we would Splendor Duel, but that's just our limited.
Well, he always says, Century Spice Road is like Splendor. And I was like, no, it's not. Like, those are 2 separate games.
They are.
They're the same game.
Thank you.
They're great.
They're engine building, but it's like engine building in your hand versus engine building
exactly.
right in front of
Thank
you.
you.
Everybody can snipe every single card that you want every single
I'm
time.
wrong. You're right.
To end it, Andrea, what is our number 1 game?
Agricola, All Creatures, Big and Small.
I know. We love this
We've
game
never
so
played
much.
this.
What the heck is
Really?
It's a party game. It's
Have you played the regular Agricola?
I don't even know the words that you're saying,
Nope,
Andrea.
Agricola is-
It's a farming game.
Yeah.
Agricola?
And
Yeah.
Agricola.
Agricola is like an old school worker placement game from UA. That's kind of hated on nowadays because it's got this thing that nobody likes, which is the feed your people mechanic, which they kind of have done away with in more modern gaming because it's really punishing. Because if you can't feed all your people, you become a beggar, and then you lose a bunch of points. And it's really hard to come out of that once you start getting into that.
But
Well,
it also gives you penalties if you don't do everything.
Yeah.
So you can do vegetables, you can do animals, you can do there's multiple animals. There's pigs, there's horses, there's cows, and in most games you can like streamline and like really strategize on one. But in Uwe's Agricola and in all creatures big and small, every animal you don't do, you get penalized for it. You lose points because you didn't do them.
Right.
In Agricola, all creatures big and small, there is penalties there, but it's easy enough to where I think you can beg it off, or you can figure out that I'm kicking the crap out of horses right now.
Sometimes
So,
if I lose 3 points or 6 points for not doing sheep, it's fine because I made enough points in other areas. But that's really the only downside of the All Creatures Great and Small, which is the condensed version. I didn't even know there was the original version. I only knew the 2-player version because Rick taught it to me, and I loved it so much. And then we went to Gary and Elizabeth's, and I was like, oh my God, there's a 4-player version? This is going to be great because I love it. And then I was just like, this is terrible. I never want to play that one again. So the 2-player version,
Much better.
Just it's a sweet spot.
And it was interesting because before we started dating, I got rid of my Agricola, not because I didn't like it, but because I have so many euros and so many worker placements that it wasn't getting to the table. Plus, there was another 4 or 5 people in the group that already had it. Somebody else wanted it. I sold it to them, got rid of it. And I was willing to buy it again if she liked Agricola. So we went out there and we drove away. She goes, I don't ever have to play that game again.
That's why you need to play Caverna. We'll have to bring Caverna sometime because it's
just
Caverna.
as bad.
No, Caverna is Agricola made right without all the punishment. And
They take it and they immediately put it in the trash can. You don't have to worry about playing it.
Caverna is great. And speaking of 2-player games, there's a 2-player Caverna game that's Cave versus Cave. That's pretty
We
good
have
too.
it.
Yeah,
We played that game.
we played both of them. You like Caverna? It's just another one that's got a lot of setup.
It's nowhere near as good as Agricola.
Really,
Creatures
big and small.
You should-
and I've never played it. We'll have to try it.
We'll borrow it
Okay.
and you see what you think.
Commander.
Leandra.
It's Commander.
Yep.
It's Commander.
Yeah, Magic has kind of.
So
Sadly,
here's the sweet thing.
I got a lot of bad things in the pandemic.
Yeah, but here's what's really sweet, right? Like, so I only have my 3 decks, right? I have Olivia, and then Fairies, which I call the Night Court deck from Akatar. Anyway, he's so sweet. I already, they're overpowered, right? My Olivia decks. And he still finds cards to let me switch them out to keep on making my deck even more. He's like, I don't even know why I'm giving you this card. I should take this card. It's because you love me. And, I get
Also,
there.
he wants to pump you up so you'll come back
It
out.
could all, yeah, that's exactly what he's doing.
I
Yeah.
have no clue why I'm giving you this card.
Exactly.
You want to play?
But it's to the point where now the only way I can ever win is by playing my super duper powerful cards that win on 2 turns or decks, and then she hates that. She's like,
Sure.
well, that's stupid. So now my goal is to try to make a deck that just plays well with her super overpowered decks. But her decks they're very powerful, but they're not made to win on turn 1 or 2. And you can make decks like that. So it's it's a weird
9,
balance of
10,
trying to find
11,
ones
somewhere
that
around
give
there,
us
yeah.
that give us a good game without one person skunking the other. And usually it's her just skunking me, but
The way it should be.
Now, I don't know anything about Commander. Is it generally a 2-player game, or how many
generally,
people?
Commander is the format that is multiplayer for Magic. So most Magic is 60 cards in a deck, 4 cards of each type, 1 versus 1 format. Commander is the only official multiplayer, well, besides two-headed giant or whatever. But it's the first and most popular way to play Magic now because it's multiplayer. So you're playing with more life, more cards, 100 cards in your deck, but every card has to be different. So it's called the singleton format. So the only thing that can be the same is basic lands, which is your resources.
Sure.
Otherwise, every card has to be different.
I think you'd like it. It's pretty fun.
It's just it's a rule set that is very complex, but once you learn it, then you can basically play any deck or any set of cards you see. Magic, there will be keywords and special things, but whatever is different than the base rules is written on the cards. So basically, you just read the card and you know exactly what it does, as long as you know the base rules.
Yeah.
And that doesn't change over the years.
And the thing about Magic too is like for him, he has 70 decks, right? Like I only have 3 decks. And so I know the cards that are in my decks, right? So I know when I pull this card, oh, I know that this goes really well with this combination, So if I can get a tutor that lets me go in and search my deck for whatever card I want, I know what I'm pulling, right?
Yeah.
And so newbies, that's a disadvantage of being a newbie, obviously. Sure. Or having 70 decks like this guy. But that's something that I like about it that you don't get from regular games, because I know all 100 cards that are in my decks, because, only 3. So that makes a big difference. Like, it makes you, she's mine. Right? That's my Olivia deck. If someone's going to play my deck, I have to give you permission to play my deck. That's my deck.
Yeah.
Well, and Magic also is... Commander is also supposed to be the casual version. It's not highly competitive. So, especially in multiplayer, and that kind of can be if you're playing 1 versus 1, like any 1 versus 1 game. It's like, well, one of us is going to win and that's it. But in a 4-player game, one person's going to win and 3 people are going to lose, and you can't be too concerned about that part. You kind of just want to have fun and everybody do their thing.
Yeah.
It's no fun if one person just runs away with the game. And if they try to do that, then it's up to everybody else to jump in and kill them,
We'll get into fights about something.
You know?
We'll get into fights about something, and it's 9, 10 o'clock at night, and I'll text Ethan. I'm like, Ethan, I need to know this rule. Ben says this. I think it's this. Sorry, Leandra, it's Ben. Dang it, Ethan.
Yeah, he's got a lot of late night texts about rules.
Love it.
But anyway, that's our list.
That's our list.
Very nice.
That was
it?
Oh, yeah, we did
right.
first. I had you guys
Nice.
put the little exclamation mark on the end of the episode. Guys,
right.
thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Have you guys come on to the next episode, and we're going to run you through the 7 questions of the 417 Gamer podcast.
Perfect.
Ooh.
But before you're out of here, once again, badges go on sale for Moon City Con. Moon City Con takes place June 6th, 7th, and 8th at the Hilton Garden Inn in Springfield, Missouri. Badges go on sale February 28th.
And if you get your tickets before 3:15, you get a discount of
$15, I believe. Yes, off the top.
Badges.
The 417 Gamer podcast is recorded and produced by Andrea and Rick Bagwell. The intro music we use, Kind, Gentle, Beautiful Person, and the outro music, Making Up for Lost Time, was created by Origami Reptica. For links to our show notes, the music, and guest links, head over to our Facebook page at facebook.com/Hobby Gaming Network. Until next time, keep gaming in the 417.
Greetings from the Moon City. Temperatures are rising, January is wrapping up, and we're just 1 month away from launching badge sales for Springfield's premier board game convention. Mark your calendars, badge sales kick off February 28, 2025. Secure yours early and take advantage of our pre-boarding sale, running through March 14th. Badge pricing, standard badges are $60, but early birds get an amazing $15 discount if you grab yours during the pre-boarding window. Expansion packs, only 20 expansion packs will be available, featuring exclusive perks such as a limited edition t-shirt, admission to our fall harvest, game day, and more to be announced before launch. Want to join the crew? Join our awesome volunteers and help make Moon City Con the best experience yet. Assist in the game, library help with setup and tear down. We'd love to have you on board. Apply today. Priority will be given to past attendees. Check out our website to submit your application and be part of the action. Get ready for an unforgettable weekend of gaming, friends, and fun. See you at Moon City Con 2025 for me, Pleckand.